A woman with terminal cancer was abandoned by her husband and son. Months later, they returned because of the inheritance and had no idea what was waiting for them. It was a sunny morning in Miami. Gloria, a renowned executive, was on her way to her office. The city streets pulsed with the vibrant rhythm of daily life, reflecting Gloria's dynamic career. Her office, located in an imposing building in the financial center, was a testament to her professional accomplishments. Despite her demanding routine, Gloria always found time for her health and for her son, Eric, an energetic and creative 18-year-old. Gloria was always an active and health-conscious person, but almost every day, mostly at night, she began to feel unusual fatigue and a persistent dry cough. Initially, she attributed this to work stress, however. As the days went on, these symptoms not only persisted but also worsened. Gloria noticed that her usual energy was waning, and small tasks were becoming surprisingly exhausting. In addition, a mild but constant pain began to appear in her chest, accompanied by a loss of appetite that she could not explain. Concerned about these unusual signs, she decided to see a doctor. Gloria always kept her routine appointments and checkups, but in the last year, with the growth of her business, doctor's visits became less frequent. However, she went to the doctor's office with a feeling of anxiety and hoped that it was nothing serious. After a series of exams and tests, the doctor sat down across from her with a concerned look on his face. "Gloria, the results show something we need to investigate further," he said cautiously. "I'm going to refer you to an oncology specialist." Gloria's body froze. It seemed like the whole environment was in slow motion, and in her head, scenes from her entire life were speeding by. "My God, this can't be happening," she thought. The doctor patiently said, "Don't worry. Dr. Stephen is waiting for you. He will explain everything and help you in the best way possible. He is a very experienced doctor. You can go to the next room." In the consultation room, the atmosphere in the oncologist's office was solemn. Gloria, feeling a mixture of apprehension and hope, awaited the doctor's words. With a sympathetic look, he began to explain the situation. "Gloria, the tests showed that you have carcinoma of the lung at an almost advanced stage. I'm not going to lie, it's a serious condition, and the road ahead is challenging. But we're here to fight along with you." Gloria felt as if the ground had disappeared beneath her feet. "I didn't expect this. I always took care of my health." "How did this happen?" she asked, her voice trembling with surprise and fear at the news. The doctor offered a sympathetic look. "I understand that this is shocking, Gloria. Unfortunately, cancer often does not show clear signs until it is in a more advanced stage. But even now, we have treatment options. Let's discuss each of them and find the best possible path." He went on to try to instill some hope. "Oncology medicine has come a long way, and there are new therapies that can offer significant results. I am here to support you in every decision and make sure you receive the best possible care." Gloria, absorbing the words, felt a mixture of fear and determination. "So what do we do now? How do we begin this battle?" she asked, her voice taking on a new resolve. "Let's begin with a detailed discussion of your treatment options. Each case is unique, and we will customize the plan according to your specific needs," the doctor replied, preparing to guide her through the next steps. Upon returning home, a cozy space she had decorated with care and love, Gloria prepared to tell Eric and her husband, Henry, sitting in the living room, surrounded by memories of happy family moments. Silence prevailed after the revelation. Eric, trying to be strong for his mother, held back his tears while Henry embraced Gloria, promising unconditional support. In the days that followed, as Gloria reflected on the impact of the news on her life and career, she began to organize her priorities. She knew she would have to balance treatment with her responsibilities, but she was determined to stay strong for her family. Within that house, a new phase of challenge and overcoming began. As Gloria's treatment intensified, a subtle but profound change began to infiltrate her home. Since the diagnosis, routine became a joint effort between her husband and son. Each morning, they would meticulously organize themselves to make sure Gloria's every need was met. Henry was in charge of administering the medications, making sure Gloria took them on time, and accompanied her to the numerous doctor's appointments and chemotherapy sessions. On the other hand, his son Eric took on the task of preparing balanced and easy-to-digest meals, adapting to Gloria's changing palate and appetite. Henry also remained attentive throughout the night. He was always available to help Gloria with her immediate needs, whether it was helping her move around the house or offering emotional support during the most difficult times. Despite the initial care, with time and increased care, the atmosphere in the house began to change. Henry and Eric, once pillars of strength and support, now seemed to falter in the face of her growing needs. Simple requests, such as a glass of water or a short walk in the garden, were met with a weary sigh or were sometimes ignored. Gloria watched with a mixture of sadness and understanding her family's silent resistance. On one particularly challenging morning, when Gloria needed to get to the hospital for chemotherapy, she found the house shrouded in heavy silence. Henry was still in bed and showed no intention of getting up. Gloria, who was downstairs, called to him, asking if he had forgotten the appointment time. He, in a hoarse voice, suggested, "Maybe you'd better take a cab, Gloria. I'm very tired today. On your cell phone you have the contact of the cab cooperative in the neighborhood. Just call one of them." Gloria felt a twinge of sadness and loneliness, but acted calmly and patiently. "It's okay, love. You really need to rest," she replied, hiding her disappointment as she waited for the cab. Turbulent thoughts invaded her mind. Could it be that I'm asking too much of them? She wondered internally. Is it that my illness is becoming an unbearable burden? The cab arrived, driven by a kindly gentleman who immediately noticed Gloria's frailty. "I'll take care of you, don't worry," he said with an encouraging smile. Gloria felt an unexpected relief in the presence of this stranger. Arriving at the hospital, she did her session and then returned home. Sitting in the spacious living room, Gloria watched the sunset through the wide windows. The soft light of the sunset brought a contrast to the weight she felt in her heart. She knew it was time to address the growing distance between her and her family. When Henry and Eric joined her in the living room, she took a deep breath, gathering courage to begin the difficult conversation. "I remember when this room was always full of laughter and plans for the future," Gloria began, her voice shaky but steady. "But I feel like everything has changed since my diagnosis. I seem to have become a burden to you." Henry, sitting uncomfortably on the couch, avoided eye contact. "Gloria, it's not that simple. We are all trying to deal with this in our own way," he said, his voice revealing a weariness that went beyond the physical. Eric, sitting next to his father, looked uneasy, his eyes full of sadness and discomfort. "Mom, it's hard. I want to help, but sometimes I don't know how," he murmured. Gloria, with a mixture of understanding and determination, proposed, "Maybe we could get outside help. We can hire someone to help me with the daily chores and doctor's appointments. That might ease the burden on us." Henry, with a sigh, responded disinterestedly. If you think that will help, his response, devoid of empathy, made it clear that he did not fully understand the gravity of the situation. Gloria, despite her disappointment with Henry's reaction, kept her focus on finding a solution. "I will contact the hospital tomorrow to see if they can recommend someone. We need someone with experience to help us on this journey." Eric gave it some thought and agreed, "Sounds like a good idea." Mom Gloria, with a slight smile, felt a glimmer of hope. She was determined to keep her family together despite the challenges. Her resilient spirit and ability to find practical solutions to difficult problems were qualities that had always guided her. Days later, the new nurse Gloria hired arrived and began caring for her. She was a specialist in cancer patients and knew exactly how to handle such situations. Sitting in the living room, the tension between Gloria and Henry was palpable. She looked at her husband, clearly uncomfortable with the nurse's presence in the house. "Henry, I see you are uncomfortable with the nurse. What is your concern?" Gloria asked. Henry looked at her hesitantly. "I don't feel well. It's strange to have another man taking care of you. I feel like I'm being replaced," he confessed. Gloria tried to calm him down. "Henry, he's only here to help me with my health. It's not personal. I need him, especially on chemotherapy days. If you feel able to take on that care, we can talk about it." Henry, with a mixture of frustration and concern, responded, "It's not just about caring, Gloria. It's about feeling useful. I don't seem to be needed here anymore." Gloria, seeking to reassure him, explained, "You're important, you always have been. But the nurse has specific experience with cancer patients. He's here to help us, not replace you. The conversation became more tense when Henry expressed his resentment. You shouldn't depend so much on others. Try to be more independent, he said, clearly agitated. Henry, there are days when I can barely move because of the chemotherapy. It's not a question of wanting to be independent or not, answered Gloria, trying to make him understand the seriousness of her condition. Unable to accept the situation, Henry got up abruptly and left, slamming the door. Later, the call from his mother-in-law only added to the tension. Gloria, it is not appropriate to have a man taking care of you. It is disrespectful, said the mother-in-law over the phone. Gloria calmly responded, I understand your concerns, but my health is the priority now. He is a qualified professional and is here to help. Lying in bed that night, Gloria thought about how her illness affected everyone around her. She knew she needed to face these delicate issues with Henry. We need to find a middle ground, she thought, determined to maintain peace and understanding in the family. As Gloria continued her treatment, she realized that the cancer had not gotten worse, but that did not seem to be enough to maintain harmony at home. For a week after a tense conversation with Henry, the atmosphere at home seemed to return to normal, and her treatment continued without incident. However, a shocking scene awaited her upon her return from a chemotherapy session. A moving truck was parked in front of her house. Upon entering, Gloria found Henry and Eric packing their things. We're going to stay at my mother's house for a while, Henry said, avoiding looking directly at her. Gloria felt a surge of sadness and frustration, but she was so exhausted by the treatment that she could barely express her feelings. Looking at Eric, she asked in a trembling voice, Do you want to go too, Eric? You can make your own decisions. Eric, with a cold expression on his face, replied, It's too hard to be here, Mom. I'd rather stay with Dad. Eric's words were like a blow to Gloria, confirming her worst fears of feeling unwanted and abandoned in the midst of her struggle. After Henry and Eric's departure, Gloria's house, once full of life and love, now echoed with a melancholy silence. As she struggled to accept the new reality, an unexpected figure knocked on her door, her cousin Sophie, who had heard about the recent events. Gloria, I knew what happened. I couldn't let you face this alone, Sophie said, hugging her tightly. Sophie, a woman with a strong spirit and a welcoming heart, always had a special relationship with Gloria. Gloria, feeling a mixture of relief and sadness, shared with Sophie the challenges she faced. They're gone, Sophie, just when I needed them most, Gloria said, as tears streamed down her face. Sophie listened intently, her expression a mix of concern and indignation. That's unbelievable, Gloria, but you're not alone. I'm staying with you through this period. We're going to get through this together, Sophie stated with determination. In the days that followed, Sophie became a constant and comforting presence in the house. She helped with daily chores, accompanied Gloria to her appointments, and provided much-needed companionship. You have always been more than a cousin to me, Sophie. You are a true friend, Gloria said in a moment of gratitude. With Sophie by her side, Gloria felt a little stronger to face the challenges of her condition. The house, which had seemed empty and cold before, began to regain a bit of human warmth. There was still deep pain from Henry and Eric's departure, but Sophie's presence brought new hope and strength for Gloria to continue on her road to recovery. Sophie had always been a figure of resilience and strength, qualities forged by challenging circumstances in her own life. Widowed for some years, she lost her husband in a tragic car accident when her 2 children were still young. Since then, Sophie tirelessly devoted herself to raising her children alone, balancing the responsibilities of a single mother with some heavy lifting. Despite the daily challenges, Sophie never allowed hardships to shake her optimistic spirit. She raised her children with love and dedication, instilling in them values of strength and compassion, and took pride in seeing them grow up healthy and happy despite the absence of their father. When she learned of Gloria's situation, Sophie did not hesitate to reach out. She saw in Gloria not only a cousin but a sister at heart. Dividing her time between work, caring for her children, and helping Gloria, Sophie held herself up as an example of selflessness and generosity. I know you would do the same for me, Sophie would say as she prepared a meal for Gloria. We are family, we need to support each other, especially in difficult times. She cared for Gloria with the same tenderness and attention she devoted to her children, balancing hospital visits and chemotherapy sessions with school activities and her children's needs. At night, after putting her children to bed, Sophie would run to Gloria's house. She would sit by her side, sharing stories, laughter, and sometimes tears. You know, Gloria, sometimes life tests us in ways we would never expect. Losing my husband was devastating, but it taught me to cherish every moment and to be strong for my children, Sophie reflected. Gloria, listening intently, found inspiration in Sophie's strength. You're amazing, Sophie. I don't know how you managed to do all this, Gloria admired. Sophie smiled, a smile that hid weariness but radiated hope. We women are made of something special, Gloria. We have the ability to carry the world on our shoulders and still keep going. The next day, Gloria, feeling the painful absence of Henry and Eric, decided to call them, seeking to reconnect and express her feelings. With a heavy heart, she dialed Henry's number. "Henry, I miss you guys." "How are you?" asked Gloria, trying to hide the sadness in her voice. Henry responded with a tone of indifference that cut Gloria's heart. "We are fine, Gloria. Eric and I are adjusting to the new life. Don't worry about us." His words were cold, devoid of the concern and love Gloria so longed to hear. "But I do care, Henry. I need them, especially now," Gloria insisted, her voice charged with emotion. "Look, Gloria, I understand it's hard for you, but we all have our lives. We can't get stuck in this. Eric and I are moving forward," Henry said, ending the conversation abruptly, leaving Gloria with the phone in her hand and tears in her eyes. The next day, Gloria tried again, this time calling Eric. "Eric, Mama, your mother needs you." "I miss you so much," she said hopefully. Eric, though softer than Henry, expressed a similar resolve. "Mom, I like being with Dad here. I don't need to think about illnesses all the time. I'm sorry, but I don't want to go back," he admitted. Eric's words, though spoken reluctantly, were a hard blow to Gloria, who understood the depth of her family's rejection. Gloria hung up the phone, feeling abandoned and helpless. Sophie, sensing Gloria's distress, reached out and said, "They don't know what they are losing, Gloria. You are an amazing, strong, brave woman. I'm here with you, offering comfort." Those conversations left Gloria with a feeling of desolation. With each passing day, it became clearer that Henry and Eric had chosen to walk away, leaving her to deal with her illness alone. As the days passed, Sophie became an endless source of support for Gloria. Realizing how despondent Gloria was about the situation with Henry and Eric, Sophie decided to bring a little more joy into her life. One day, she arrived with her 2 children, Francisca and Matthias, to spend the afternoon with Gloria. "They are excited to see you, Gloria. We want you to know that you also have a family here with us," Sophie said, smiling. Gloria felt her heart warm with the presence of the children. Francisca and Matthias filled the house with laughter and energy. For a few hours, Gloria was able to forget her sadness and surrender to the simple joy of being with family. Sophie, despite her humble life, never let hardship stop her from seeking improvement. She shared with Gloria about her return to school. "You know, Gloria, after the kids got a little older, I decided to go back to school. I'm studying nursing with the scholarship I got. It's an effort, but I know it will be worth it," Sophie said, her voice full of hope and determination. Inspired by Sophie, Gloria began to open herself to new experiences. Sophie took her for a walk in the local park, something Gloria hadn't done in months. Sitting on a bench, watching the children play, Gloria felt a sense of peace and gratitude. "Sophie, thank you for bringing me here. I didn't know how much I needed this," Gloria said, with tears of joy in her eyes. Sophie smiled and took Gloria's hand. "Sometimes all we need is some fresh air and good company. You'll always have that with me, Gloria." After weeks of small joys and reconnections with life, Gloria felt revitalized. However, life, in its unpredictability, had other plans. During her routine consultation, the doctor's concerned countenance prepared Gloria for news she feared. "Gloria, I regret to inform you that your cancer, which seemed to be receding, is now showing signs of strengthening," the doctor revealed, his voice laden with professionalism and empathy. Gloria felt the ground disappear beneath her feet. "But I was feeling better. How is that possible, she asked, a mixture of disbelief and fear in her voice. Unfortunately, cancer is unpredictable and complex. We will need to adjust your treatment and perhaps consider new approaches, the doctor explained, offering not only a medical plan but also moral support. Returning home, Gloria shared the news with Sophie. Sitting in the kitchen, where so many conversations had taken place, Sophie took Gloria's hands. "Let's face this together, Gloria, no matter how hard it is," Sophie said in a firm voice, but her eyes revealed the concern she felt. Gloria, though grateful for Sophie's unwavering support, felt a wave of hopelessness. She was beginning to hope again. "Sophie, now it all seems to be falling apart," Gloria confessed, tears sliding down her face. In the days that followed, Gloria reflected on the unfairness of life. She thought about how, despite her efforts and newly rediscovered joy, her illness refused to let up. Why me, she wondered, lost in thought. Sophie tried to offer comfort. "Life is not always fair, Gloria, but even in the darkest moments there are rays of light. You are one of those rays for me and for everyone who knows you," Sophie said, trying to instill some strength in Gloria. In the midst of the emotional turbulence, Gloria found an unknown strength within herself. She decided that, regardless of the outcome, she would continue to fight, not only for herself but also for those who loved her and whom she loved. One afternoon during the week, Gloria, encouraged by Sophie, decided to call Henry. She needed to tell him about the recent deterioration in her health, hoping that perhaps this might bring about some change in his attitude. With trembling hands, she dialed the number, feeling every beat of her heart. "Henry, I need to tell you about what the doctor said," Gloria began hesitantly. The voice on the other end of the line was cold and distant. "Gloria, what do you want now?" "Eric and I are busy with our lives," interrupted Henry. "I'm sorry to bother you, but my cancer has gotten worse." "I thought you should know," said Gloria, trying to contain her excitement. There was a pause on the other end of the line before Henry responded. "Gloria, it doesn't change anything for us. I've already made my decision. Eric and I are better off now, away from all that negativity. Your illness is no longer our responsibility." Gloria felt as if a dagger had pierced her heart. "Henry, please don't talk like that. I am still your wife, the mother of your child," she pleaded, her voice cracking with pain and despair. "That brings me to my next point. I'm sending the divorce papers. I think it's best for all of us to move on," Henry said, his voice impersonal and final. Tears flooded Gloria's eyes. "Henry, we can't try to solve this for Eric," she asked, clinging to the last hope. "No, Gloria. I've made my decision. Eric is fine with it. He agrees it's for the best. It's time to leave us alone," Henry answered, ending the call without further words. Gloria hung up the phone, feeling an immense emptiness. Sophie, who had been by her side during the call, hugged her tightly. "Don't worry, Gloria. You are not alone. I will be here, no matter what happens," said Sophie. But the words seemed insufficient to comfort the deep pain Gloria felt at that moment. Gloria realized that the road ahead would be lonely and difficult. The news of her worsening health, followed by Henry's rejection and coldness, left her in a spiral of sadness and desolation. She wondered how the man with whom she had shared so many years of her life, the father of her child, could distance himself so much from her at her most vulnerable moment. On one of the nights alone with herself, Gloria found herself flipping through photo albums. The images of smiles and moments shared with Henry and Eric now seemed from another life. With every page she turned, a tear fell, marking the photographs with drops of a story that was falling apart. The day the divorce papers arrived, Gloria felt a mixture of pain and liberation. Holding the envelope in her hands, she reflected on the years of dedication to her family, now crumbling on sheets of paper. "Enough suffering," she said to herself. "It's time to lift up our heads and face life as it is." Sophie, observing the transformation in Gloria, approached her. "You are stronger than you think, Gloria, and I will be here with you every step of the way." While sorting through some of Gloria's things, Sophie found an old notebook. It was a wish list of Gloria's desires and simple things she always wanted to do but never had the time for. "Gloria, look what I found. How about we start making some of these wishes come true?" Sophie suggested with a gleam of enthusiasm in her eyes. Gloria smiled in surprise. I had forgotten these wishes. They are such simple things but meaningful to me. The first wish on the list was to visit a local garden. Sophie arranged the visit, and together they spent an afternoon surrounded by flowers and plants. Gloria felt every scent and admired every color, feeling a joy she had forgotten existed. It's amazing how something so simple can be so beautiful, said Gloria, an expression of pure happiness on her face. As Gloria and Sophie flipped through the wish booklet, a new idea came to mind. Look at this one here, Gloria. Spending a day at the beach, feeling the sand and the sea. That sounds wonderful, exclaimed Sophie. Gloria smiled, remembering the old wish. I don't remember the last time I went to the beach. It would be really beautiful, she answered, the idea awakening a spark of enthusiasm. The following weekend, Sophie organized a trip to the nearest beach. Sitting on the sand, Gloria closed her eyes, feeling the sea breeze and listening to the sound of the waves. It's so peaceful here. Thanks for the ride, Sophie said, Gloria, her voice full of gratitude. Another item on the list was to see a spectacular sunrise. Sophie, always willing to make Gloria's wishes come true, planned a morning walk. We're going to get up very early tomorrow. You're going to see the most beautiful sunrise of your life, Sophie promised. The next day, even in the darkness of dawn, Gloria and Sophie found the perfect spot to watch the spectacle. As the sun rose over the horizon, Gloria felt a wave of excitement. She had forgotten how wonderful it was to see the beginning of a new day. This is amazing, she said with tears of joy in her eyes. As she flipped through the booklet, Sophie pointed out another wish. To learn to dance, Gloria. That would be amazing. Gloria laughed, a little hesitant. I don't know how to dance, Sophie, and with my health. Sophie interrupted her with an encouraging smile. It doesn't matter, Gloria. The idea is to have fun. Let's find a class for beginners. You'll love it. In the weeks that followed, Gloria and Sophie attended salsa classes. At first unsure, Gloria soon let herself be carried away by the music and the rhythm. I never thought I could do anything like this, said Gloria, panting but beaming after a class. You have shown me that there is still so much to live and enjoy, Sophie hugged Gloria, sharing her joy. Every day is a new opportunity, Gloria, and I am here to live all those days with you, dear cousin. As time passed, the dynamic between Gloria and Sophie continued to evolve. Sophie spent more and more time caring for Gloria, whose health unfortunately was beginning to decline. The moments of joy and fulfillment provided by the bucket list were now accompanied by periods of weakness and fatigue, a constant reminder of the battle Gloria faced with cancer. Gloria began to reflect on her company, a thriving business that she had built up with dedication and passion over the years. The company, known for its success and innovation, always attracted interest from buyers. Now, with her health deteriorating, Gloria began to seriously consider selling. On a quiet afternoon, sitting with Sophie in the garden, Gloria brought up the subject. Sophie, I've been thinking about my company. I've received several buyout offers over the years. Maybe it's time to accept one of them, she said, looking thoughtfully toward the horizon. Sophie looked at Gloria, understanding the depth of the decision. You've put so much of yourself into that business, Gloria, but maybe it's a good idea considering everything that's going on. It would give you one less thing to worry about. Exactly, agreed Gloria. I don't know when or if I'll be able to come back and focus 100% on the company again, and the money from the sale could ensure my financial security for many, many years to come. In the days that followed, Gloria began meeting with advisors and prospective buyers, organizing everything from her home, with Sophie always at her side, offering support. After several meetings and negotiations, Gloria finally decided to sell her company to a buyer who shared her vision and work ethic. With the sale completed, Gloria felt a mixture of relief and nostalgia. Part of me will always be in that company, she told Sophie, but now I can focus on my health and enjoy the time I have. Sophie took Gloria's hand and said, You made the right decision, Gloria. Now it's time to take care of yourself. A few weeks after the sale of the company, Gloria received an unexpected call. It was Henry, with an unusually friendly tone. "Gloria, Eric and I have been meaning to visit you. We missed you," he said, his voice carrying a distinctly forced sweetness. Gloria, surprised by the sudden change in attitude, accepted the visit but remained cautious. She knew it was not normal. "It will be a pleasure to see them," she replied, keeping her voice neutral. When Henry and Eric arrived, Gloria immediately noticed the difference in their behavior. They were exceptionally attentive and affectionate, a big change from the coldness and distance of the previous months. "Mom, we are so sorry for everything. We wanted to be here for you," said Eric, with a look that Gloria couldn't quite decipher. Sophie, observing the scene, felt a pang of distrust. Later, she shared her concerns with Gloria. "Don't you find it strange that they changed their attitude so quickly, just now after the sale of the company?" Gloria sighed, with an expression of understanding on her face. "I know, Sophie. It's hard not to see this as interest in the money from the sale, but I'm going to wind it up. I want to see how far this goes." Over the next few days, Henry and Eric made several visits, always showing exaggerated concern and interest in Gloria's finances. On one such visit, Henry began to talk about Gloria's financial future. "You should think about how to manage your money now. Maybe invest, or even include us in your will for security," he suggested, with a smile that did not reach his eyes. Gloria, pretending to consider the suggestion, replied, "That's a good idea, Henry. I will think about it." Internally, she was fully aware of his intentions. Despite the pain of recognizing Henry and Eric's selfish interest, Gloria remained firm and lucid in her decisions. On a cold morning, Gloria awoke feeling a deep weakness accompanied by an incessant cough that seemed to consume her last strength. Sophie, realizing the gravity of the situation, acted quickly, calling an ambulance while trying to comfort Gloria with gentle words and loving gestures. At the hospital, the doctors did their best to stabilize Gloria, but her condition was delicate. Sophie remained by her side, holding her hand and whispering words of encouragement, even though her heart was heavy with the fear of losing her beloved cousin. A doctor entered the room with a serious but gentle countenance. "Gloria, we are doing everything we can, but your body is reacting less to the treatment," he said, choosing his words carefully. Gloria looked at the doctor with a look of understanding in her tired eyes. "I know. I can feel it," she replied faintly. Sophie watched with emotions a mixture of pain and admiration for Gloria's strength. During a moment of lucidity, Gloria, in a weak but intent voice, asked Sophie to look for a special envelope in her house. "Sophie, there is a letter I wrote. When the time comes, I want you to read it with Henry and Eric. It is important to me," she said, making her last wish clear. "Of course, Gloria. I will do as you ask me," Sophie promised, holding back tears. As night fell, Gloria seemed to drift farther and farther away, her breathing becoming shallower. Sophie, at her side, chatted the whole time, remembering the happy times they had shared. During that early morning, as the moon shone in all its majesty outside, Gloria finally departed. She did so with a calmness that contrasted with the battle she had faced. Sophie, though devastated by the loss, felt a wave of gratitude for having been by Gloria's side until the end. After Gloria's passing, Sophie left the hospital room visibly shaken, tears running freely down her face. In the hallway, she met Henry, who was waiting with a somber expression. Unable to contain her frustration and sadness, Sophie approached him. "Henry, you have to hear this," said Sophie, her voice trembling with emotion. "Gloria deserves so much more from you and Eric. She went through terrible times, struggling alone, while you lived your lives as if nothing was happening." Henry, surprised by Sophie's frankness, tried to interrupt, but Sophie continued, the words flowing like an avalanche of repressed feelings. "No, now you will listen to me. Gloria was in her last days, and all she wanted was a little love and consideration from her family. But now, it's too late, Henry, too late for regrets." Sophie took a deep breath, trying to control her emotions. "I'm going to look for a letter Gloria wrote. She wanted me to read it with you and Eric. It will be the last time we see each other, Henry. I'm doing this out of respect for Gloria, not for you." Henry remained silent, shocked by Sophie's words and the reality of the moment. He seemed, for the first time, to realize the magnitude of his own negligence. Sophie walked away, determined to fulfill Gloria's last wish. She knew that despite the pain and loss, Honoring Gloria's memory was the most important thing at that moment. 3 days later, she received a call from a lawyer, someone Gloria had previously hired to handle her legal matters. "Mrs. Sophie, I am Dr. Edward. Gloria instructed me on certain procedures after her departure. One of them is the reading of a letter she left in the presence of Henry and Eric. We need to arrange a place for this," said Dr. Edward in a calm and respectful voice. Sophie, still affected by the loss of Gloria, agreed to find a neutral and quiet place for the reading of the letter. "I think Gloria's house would be the most appropriate place. She loved that space, and it would be as if she were there with us," Sophie suggested. Dr. Edward agreed with the suggestion and offered to arrange the meeting. "I will contact Henry and Eric to let them know the date and time. It will be a private meeting, just us, and what is necessary to fulfill Gloria's last wishes." On the appointed day, Sophie, Henry, Eric, and Dr. Edward gathered in the living room of Gloria's house, a place full of memories and emotions. The atmosphere was charged with emotion, with everyone processing the loss in their own way. Sophie, holding the envelope tightly, began to read the letter. "If you are reading this letter, it means that I am no longer among you. I write these words with a heart full of love, but also with the pain of the abandonment I felt. My cancer diagnosis was one of the most challenging moments of my life, and the absence of you, Henry and Eric, left a deep scar on my soul. I never imagined feeling so alone at a time when I needed my family's love and support the most. However, even in the darkness of those days, I found light and hope through the unconditional love of Sophie and her adorable children. Sophie, you were more than a cousin to me, you were my savior, my sister in my heart. You and your children held me when I was about to fall. You carried out my last wishes with nothing but love and compassion. There are no words to express my gratitude for all you did for me." As for legal matters, I made important decisions before my departure with the guidance of my attorney. I reviewed my will after filing for divorce. Since our marriage was governed by total separation of property, everything I own, including our house and any other assets, is my sole property. With this in mind, I decided to leave my entire estate to you, Sophie, and your children. This is my way of saying thank you and ensuring that they have a secure and prosperous future. Henry and Eric, although I still have love for you, I feel that Sophie and her children are most deserving of what I have to offer now. Eric, my dear son, despite the path we chose, I want you to know that you will always have my forgiveness. However, it is important that you learn to value and fight for things in life. I hope you find your way and realize the importance of being present for those you love. Sophie, my last hope is to see you finish your nursing course and continue to help others as you helped me. Your generous heart and dedication are an example to all of us, and I am proud to know that my legacy will be used to support your dreams and those of your children, with all my love. Gloria. After reading Gloria's letter, Sophie was visibly moved. Tears ran freely down her face. She held the paper with trembling hands, touched by the depth of love and gratitude Gloria expressed for her and her children. "She was more than a cousin to me, she was a sister, a friend. I just wanted to be by her side," said Sophie between sobs, feeling Gloria's absence more than ever. Henry, for his part, seemed confused and stunned by Gloria's decision. He could not hide his disappointment at not being included in the inheritance. "I don't understand how she could leave everything to Sophie. What will happen to me and Eric now?" he asked, his voice revealing a mixture of surprise and indignation. Eric, however, showed a different reaction. Hearing his mother's words, he lowered his head, clearly moved and remorseful. "I really abandoned Mom when she needed me the most," he murmured, his voice choked with emotion. Gloria's words seemed to have awakened a deep reflection in Eric. "I'm so sorry, Mom. I'm sorry I wasn't there," he said softly, tears beginning to form in his eyes. Watching Eric's reaction, Sophie felt a pang of compassion for the young man. She approached him, placing a comforting hand on his shoulder. "Your mother loved you, Eric. She only wanted the best for you, and now you have the opportunity to honor her memory," Sophie said gently. Dr. Edward, the lawyer, observed the scene in silence, respecting the family's moment of mourning and reflection. "If they need any additional guidance on legal procedures, I am at their disposal," he said, offering his professional support. On a serene afternoon, with the sky painted in soft shades of orange and pink, Sophie walked slowly through the cemetery, carrying a beautiful bouquet of flowers. She stopped in front of Gloria's grave, where the words on the tombstone still shone, as if they were new, even after a few years. Sophie knelt down, gently placing the flowers by the headstone. "Gloria, so much has happened since you left," she began, her voice full of emotion. "I wanted you to know that I graduated from nursing school. Every day in that course I thought of you and the strength you gave me." She paused, swallowing the lump in her throat. "And Eric. Gloria, he really changed. He started to study, he worked hard and got ahead in life. He got married and had a daughter. Do you believe it? And he named her Gloria in your honor." Sophie smiled through her tears. "You left a mark on him, Gloria. Your letter, your final words, changed his life. He finally understood what really matters." She looked toward the horizon, thinking of Gloria's ex-husband. As for Henry, we never heard from him again. After all, it seems he went his own way and lives on the streets begging. Since he had never needed to work, he ran out of options when you left, and Eric cut ties with him. But wherever he is, I hope he has found some peace. Sophie stood up, looking at the grave with a look of affection and gratitude. "You will always be in our hearts, Gloria. Your courage, your love, and your strength live on in each one of us. Thank you for everything." She slowly walked away, leaving the cemetery behind but taking Gloria's memories and legacy with her. Life went on, and Sophie knew that somehow Gloria was still with them, guiding and inspiring them each new day.